Every year, there are a number of releases that prompt us to hop aboard the hype train all the way to launch. However, with so many big games coming in 2020, there are more than a fair number of titles that we're skeptical about. So let's take a look at 15 games of 2020 that we think may disappoint or fail to live up to the hype. This doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be bad or not enjoyable, mind you, but it's good to temper expectations every now and again. Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers is promising for fans who just want to tear things up with their favorite heroes. However, it's still hard to get a feel for the game. The campaign is single player only, while the endgame supports co-op. Also, there's a loot grind attached because of course there is. Will the post-game be substantial enough? Will the campaign be good enough to appease the masses? What about post-launch plans, matchmaking, and balancing this admittedly strange combo of single player and co-op? Hopefully the recent delays to September will let Square Enix expand on this a bit more. Outriders. People Can Fly are back with a new first-person shooter. While the studio's pedigree with Bulletstorm shouldn't be ignored, Outriders hasn't really made an impact yet. That's because it was announced with a cinematic trailer and no gameplay. How will the co-op play into the experience, and how will drop-in, drop-out multiplayer affect the campaign? Well, for now, it's too early to really expect anything, but nothing about this setup comes across as captivating, just yet. Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Dungeons presents a very interesting in-between point for those who prefer Minecraft's adventuring over its crafting, but can't quite get into the loot grind of other action RPGs. You'll explore randomly generated dungeons, equip any weapon or armor piece, and solve puzzles while battling classic Minecraft foes. It does sound appealing, but also sounds too shallow, especially with the lack of classes and information on the endgame. Mod support, a key feature of the base game, is also important, and we've heard nothing about it so far, even with the game scheduled for release in April. Fast and Furious Crossroads. Go watch the trailer for Fast and Furious Crossroads. If you're expecting something great, or even the kind of action that defines the movies, then we don't know what else to say. Again, it might be mindless fun, but we're highly doubtful. MANEATER. A game about a shark going around and eating people is all well and good, don't get us wrong. MANEATER is clearly trying to do a lot more though, as evidenced by its skill trees and upgrades, along with the developer classifying it as a shark PG. How far can you really go with this concept though? How much substance could it offer to elevate it just beyond a funny concept? It's hard to say, but we'll find out soon enough when it launches this May. The Dark Pictures anthology, Little Hope. The concept behind the Dark Pictures anthology of this Crypt Keeper-esque figure named the Curator presenting all sorts of horrific tales is really cool. The execution has been somewhat of a mixed bag, as Man of Medan has showcased. While we're confident that Little Hope will look good, it's a toss-up on whether or not the core issues from the previous games have been addressed. The lack of any new details or gameplay certainly has not helped. Disintegration. Disintegration seemed interesting when it appeared to be an XCOM-like squad-based game with the player on the battlefield issuing commands while partaking in firefights. However, subsequent gameplay has looked fairly underwhelming, with cheesy squad dialogue and repetitive mission objectives. Even envisioned as a straight-up arcade shooter, we were expecting a lot more from it in terms of tactics and mission design. Let's hope the full game proves us wrong. Dying Light 2. Techland's Dying Light took its fair share of risks by offering a first-person platformer with survival horror elements, even if the story and open world left something to be desired. Dying Light 2 addresses this right off the bat by having your decisions impact the story's direction, shaping the world around you in dynamic ways. That's in addition to improvements in the combat, level design, and movement. It's wildly ambitious, but it feels like it might take more updates to fully realize that, or get people as invested as they were in the first game for the long term. Godfall. Counterplay Games' Duelist was a pretty good collectible card game when it first launched, and while subsequent updates have dulled its impact, the aesthetic is still pretty great. So what does this have to do with Godfall, an action RPG hack-and-slash loot game? Well, nothing really, and that's the problem. Counterplay has never worked on a game similar, or something of this scale before. Despite being the first confirmed console exclusive for PS5, there's no denying that the first trailer left much to be desired in terms of dialogue. Things can only improve from here, but surely the reveal could have been better than what we got. Halo Infinite. Where do we even start with Halo Infinite? It lost a creative director and lead producer a little over a year from launch. The game's scale will be much bigger than anything before it, right down to using a brand new engine. That's not even considering improvements needed with regards to the story, monetization, multiplayer, and so on after Halo 5 Guardians. There's plenty that could go wrong, but the sheer amount of hype ensures that anything that's just passable will not cut it either. 343 Industries has to surpass the hype, as opposed to just delivering on it. PSYCHONAUTS 2. While it seemed like a dream sequel at first, we've become a bit more skeptical about PSYCHONAUTS 2 over the years. It spent a long time in development and suffered numerous delays. And while this could be interpreted in many ways, Double Fine Productions' output over the years has ranged from the above-average Broken Age and Rad to the passable Headlander, Hack and Slash, Costume Quest 2, and Psychonauts and the Rhombus of Ruin. While Psychonauts 2 won't be outright bad, we're unsure if it's going to be as outright amazing as the first game. System Shock Remake. Night Dive Studios' System Shock Remake was pushed back due to feature creep, and thankfully, the developer has refocused on capturing the essence of the original. Looks-wise, it's done a pretty good job, but there are plenty of other things that could go wrong. The overall atmosphere might fall short of the classic. The scope might still be too big, resulting in shortcomings when it comes to overall polish, and so on and so forth. Watch Dogs Legion. Playing as any NPC in a game world teeming with them as hundreds of stories and situations intertwine seems almost too good to be true. But a game like Watch Dogs Legion could suffer from a number of issues, whether it's the repetitive open-world design that plagued titles like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, or bugs and glitches which have been a staple of all Ubisoft titles over the years. We're hoping there's more to the experience than just play as anyone. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2. When you have a first-person RPG that challenges you to craft your character and make dozens of decisions over many quests and conversations that can impact the story's direction, there are bound to be some hiccups. That ambition might be the undoing of Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and could result in anything from bugs and performance issues to underwhelming storytelling and characters. We have faith that a larger, more experienced studio like CD Projekt Red could fix these issues in a game like Cyberpunk 2077, which recently got delayed, but Hardsuit Labs, whose best title was the multiplayer-focused Blacklight Retribution, well, time will tell. GRANBLUE Fantasy Relink. Cygames' GRANBLUE Fantasy has been pretty popular as a mobile game, and while Relink seems to possess some great action, we've yet to see anything mind-blowing. The developer is still to reveal in-depth details on gameplay mechanics and systems, story, why we should care about these characters, etc. It could just be that the focus is on GRANBLUE Fantasy Versus for now, but GRANBLUE Fantasy Relink's good looks elevate it to just being fine rather than anything exceptional, especially compared to other action RPGs like Tales of Arise releasing this year. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.